Well, Keith, thanks so much for your time today. A lot's happened actually since we last caught up in terms of from a brand perspective. It's very exciting for you.
Yeah, no, it's been an incredible time for IHG. You know, when I took over as chief executive, I talked about accelerating our growth. And we think about doing that three ways, you know, strengthening our existing brands, creating new brands, and then going out and acquiring brands in segments where we think that's the best way to go. And we've done a lot in each one of those areas. I mean, we had incredible growth last year. We were signing almost 2 hotels a day and opening up almost 1 hotel a day. Yeah. And most of that came from our existing brands. In fact, almost 50% were in the Holiday Inn brand family, so a lot of strength there. Then, of course, we've launched new brands. We have Avid Hotels in the US and also now bringing it to Germany, into Mexico, and to Canada. I already have 170 hotels signed after 18 months. We've got Voco, which is quite exciting. A few back down in Australia already. And seeing that brand, already got 16 hotels signed after launching last year. And we'll be launching another brand later on this year in the all-suite upper mid-scale segment. And on top of that, of course, we acquired Regent, and then just a couple weeks ago acquired Six Senses. So it's been a very, very busy past 18 months.
So bolstering the luxury segment as well, which was an area where you guys had so much potential.
Yeah, so I mean, we're fortunate, right? InterContinental, the largest luxury brand, just opened our 200th hotel in Shanghai, the InterContinental Shanghai Wonderland. Great brand. Kimpton's moved more into luxury boutique internationally in particular, but we recognized that we had some white space in the portfolio, and so Regent was a great acquisition for us, of course. InterContinental Hong Kong will close and then reopen as a flagship for that brand, and we've also signed hotels in Kuala Lumpur and in Bali and in Chengdu, and a few more to come, which is great. And then Six Senses was just an amazing resort brand that focused on wellness and sustainability at the very top end of luxury, was something that we thought, you know, this is an incredible brand if we can acquire it. And I spent over 2 years working on that deal.
And you look at the deal, it's a great deal in terms of the pipeline is pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got, I think they have 18 hotels signed, 16 open, but we're at 50 discussions right now. And I've been amazed at the synergies with our existing owners and Six Senses, where they're saying, you know what, I'd like to do a Regent and I'd like to do a Six Senses. And this is a brand that really has, you know, this Asian heritage, but now is here in Europe. We're gonna be opening up in New York, which is gonna be incredible, and a lot of other urban opportunities around the world too. So that brand has lots of legs to it.
And when you look at that, working on something for 2 years, obviously, it's almost the time you've been in the role. If you look at it, so you obviously had a few ideas on what you wanted to do with the company.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great opportunity to have been with the company now for coming close to 28 years. And you know, I knew what our strengths were, and I also knew where we could get better and where we could grow. And so we spent a lot of time strengthening our existing brands. We've got new guest rooms and prototypes coming for those. But it was really about, where's that white space in the portfolio? Where could we really leverage this business and make it grow faster? And so you think a couple of years ago, we were growing at 2.5% in terms of net system size. This past year was 4.8%. And we're gonna see that continue to accelerate too. So and there's a lot of energy in the business too.
And look at Kimpton, that was one of the first deals that came around. And if you look at that, the hotel caliber is amazing. Like La Pierre in Los Angeles, Kimpton Fitzroy in London. I'm not sure you're going to top those 2 hotels for flagships, but you've got some good ones.
No, the Fitzroy in London, I was just there last week. Just a great hotel. Architecturally, just a stunning hotel and a wonderful experience. Kimpton's just got that momentum now. You saw, I was talking to Mike DeFrina, chief exec of Kimpton, the other day, and he said, you know, he's really seeing the benefit of being part of IHG in terms of the enterprise and the connections that we have. And so, I think we got Bali, Paris, London, Frankfurt, Barcelona, Tokyo, just to name a few now up in development.
Needed a company with the right vision to be able to take that forward. Similar thing, you think, with Six Senses on what you can do with that brand?
Yeah, and there's a great commonality. Actually, I had Neil Jacobs, the chief executive of Six Senses, talk to Mike DeFrina when we're going through the acquisition process to say, here's how I'm thinking about running the company. And we've kept Kimpton pretty independent. So we're powering with our enterprise, powering with loyalty and distribution, but Mike and the team are out there selling Kimpton. I said Neil's gonna do the same thing, you know, leveraging the power of this enterprise to accelerate growth, but making sure what's special about it is kept intact.
And if you look at Voco, another new brand of yours, where does Voco come into all this? It's a very mysterious brand for a lot of us.
Voco is, it's exciting. I mean, I love the hotels. I was just downstairs looking at the wall of deals they've already signed. You know, we recognized there were a number of really great upscale independent hotels, particularly into Europe and into Asia. Clearly down in Australia, we got I think three signed already. And it was we didn't have a brand that fit it, right? Because these owners had built great upscale hotels, but they weren't cookie cutter. They weren't, a big box meeting hotel. They had a bit more leisure and orientation, a bit more design led. They weren't playing over in boutique as well. So what could we do? And that's where Voco came from. And it gives the owners the flexibility to keep the character of the individual hotel, have some real clear brand hallmarks, a strong visual identity, and then the power of IHG behind it driving revenue.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the markets around the world where you've got a lot of hotels in, you're still not even looking at 20 or 30% of those markets in terms of what's branded and what's unbranded and how much potential there is. There's a lot of independent hotels out there that do need a home.
Yeah, it's huge. That's why we started in Europe, to be honest with you. You look at the number of high quality, upscale independent hotels, it's the biggest market in the world.
Yeah.
They're also under the biggest pressure in terms of distribution costs.
Yeah.
They can't afford loyalty programs, they can't afford technology, and so they're looking at these great hotels who aren't performing at their best. And so that's where the Voco opportunity is, and we're continuing to get huge momentum.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of challenges in that market in terms of there's a lot of competition out there for everyone wanting to sign these independent hotels. You obviously had to change a bit of your game plan over the last few years. Why are you doing it so well?
We strengthened the enterprise first. People ask me, why didn't you do some of these things 3 years ago? I said, we need to make sure our house was in order before we go out there and start selling this proposition. And so our loyalty program, we've grown 4 points in contribution in 4 years, and we'll continue to see that momentum. It's a much richer, more customer-centric program than it was. We've launched our new global reservation system, which is going to be cutting edge in terms of the next generation cloud platform. So it was getting our enterprise to be in that great position, then go sell a proposition like Voco.
And you're also working on a new Crowne Plaza hotel style at the moment, I understand. We talked about this a couple of years ago, and it's really coming into fruition now, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we've taken the Crowne Plaza brand and really contemporized it from a design perspective. We've got a couple of flagships being built here in Europe, and that design is flowing through into the US and internationally as well too. So it's just taking what is a great brand and bringing a bit more contemporary in its design philosophy, its service philosophy, and just kind of the look and feel.
Yeah, and that's a crowded space too, isn't it? Especially with other groups now launching brands around the MICE market. Crowne Plaza has been a very strong meetings product for a long time.
Yeah, it's been very, very focused on that for, I guess, over a decade when we started talking about being, at that one point, it was the place to meet. And, we've really leveraged that up over time, but we're also recognizing we can bring a bit more leisure into it and a bit more of the trend. So it's keeping it well balanced. But it was all about brands in general have to be, made relevant on a regular basis. And so right now I've got new prototypes for Candlewood, new prototype for Staybridge coming out, new guest rooms for Holiday Inn and Express. You're constantly going to be reinventing your brands to make sure that they appeal to customers.
And then if some of the owners don't want to do it, then they can obviously run away at some point. But you've got to really bring the standard up, don't you?
You constantly have to. Customers' expectations continue to rise, and you just can't sit there and be static. And that's tough, though. It does require a longer-term vision for each one of your brands, having a great relationship with your owners. I think one of the things we've done very well in any of these big initiatives, we do co-creation with the owners. So we do the customer segmentation, the analysis, but then we bring the owners into the room and talk about what we see the commercial opportunity being, get their feedback on design. And I was looking at Avid is another great example where they were pressure testing every aspect of, if you use this type of flooring versus this type of flooring, it maintains a lot better. And it was just that great kind of iterative process. And I think that's how you build great brands, both for guests and for owners.
Do you think in your role, obviously when you were working on Holiday Inn all those years ago and through that massive relaunch program, you obviously learned a lot about that. And that was at the time when a lot of brands weren't being refreshed. Everyone's refreshing brands now.
Yeah, it's something that's been core to our DNA. We were really the first, it was the biggest relaunch of a brand in history, which was taking Holiday Inn from what it was, which was this iconic heritage brand, and bringing it more contemporary. And I think it's just in our DNA now. We've actually the teams just know how to do this on an ongoing basis. And it can be little things, like we just did the new breakfast for the United States. They got it into almost 75% of the U.S. estate. That's thousands of hotels in 9 months. And the scale of that. Think about changing the entire breakfast experience in one night, overnight, for all those hotels. You've got to be geared up to have an enterprise that can do it, and the team just did it brilliantly.
Yeah, obviously in the next 15 years, aviation is going to double in terms of the amount of passengers around the world, and obviously you're gearing up for that. They've got to have somewhere to stay.
Absolutely. We want to make sure we've got the best hotels and the best locations across all the segments. And I think if you look at our brand portfolio, we may not have as many brands as some other people, but they each really mean something.
Yeah.
If you look at even in the luxury space, Regent and InterContinental, quite differentiated. Kimpton, Six Senses, quite differentiated. Holiday Inn, I mean, our brand portfolio, there's really tight swim lanes between them, and we think that's important because brands have to mean something to customers. They can't just be a logo that you can just throw up on a building.
No, wonderful. Keith, thanks so much for your time today.
Great seeing you.
Cheers, thanks.
Thanks, cheers.